Hello, in this video, we're going to learn the basic terminal commands in Kali Linux. So the first things that we need to know is the file system, right? So we're talking about directories here, or directories, I don't know how you pronounce it. It's very important to understand the directory structure of Kali Linux, right? Because most of the times we'll be working with these directories, and you will need to know and be aware of wherever you are or whatever directory that you're using or that you want to use. So Kali Linux is based on Unix file hierarchy standard, right? So in short, it's FHS for those who care about such details. So first things first, we have this, we have this, right? Oh, sorry, it's backslash, right? This is what we have in Windows. So if we have this in Windows, this is called the what? Root directory. In Kali Linux, it's something like this. It's just forward slash, right? So it's also a root directory. So someone might be confused, might confuse this with this, right? Where can I write this? Let me write it here. This. So this is root directory. This is root directory. This is the home directory for what? For root user. So this is not the root directory, it's the home directory for the root user. So here we are in root user, and here we are in, basically, usually when you open a terminal, it's in your default user account, not the root user. So this here will be the root directory for your home. I will get into the details or practical examples later. But so what you need to know here before we continue is that uh this is basically admin, right? Because here we have what we call administrator, right? In Windows. So let me write here, Windows Kali. So in Kali we have root, in Windows we have admin. So I'm doing this just for comparisons because I'm sure most of us are a bit experienced with Windows. So this comparison might help, right? So here we have Kali, and this we have Windows. So in Windows, when we have admin, in Kali Linux we'll have root. They are equivalent. In Windows it's admin, in Kali it's root. They have the same privileges, right? You can do a lot of things with administrator privileges or root privileges in Kali Linux case. Okay, so let's get into our VM machine, right? Okay. Yes, let me put in password. So remember I just explained directories, right? That basically what you need to focus on first is directories or the file system, right? So one thing that you need to grasp first is this command cd. So basically cd means change directory, right? So we use those to change our directory. So as you can see here, I am in this directory, right? So I want to go to root. I want to go to root because this is my home directory. Now I want to go to root. I said in Kali Linux the root directory is /. So to change into that directory, I'm gonna just say cd /. Just like that, we are in root directory. And then, so that's it for cd. We'll use that later. Another command that you need to understand before you can do any penetration testing or cybersecurity or ethical hacking or whatever you might call it is this uh, command ls. So basically this lists the content in that directory. So since we are in home directory, ls is going to list all the contents in there, right? So as you can see, these are all the contents that are in my home directory. So if I want to use a certain directory, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to say cd, right? Do this. Let's say I want to use the what can I use? USR directory. So I'm gonna remember I said we're gonna come back to this. So we're using this change directory command to change into a different directory. In this case, we used ls to list all the contents, which includes the directory in a certain directory. So the directories that are inside the directory are called subdirectories, right? So we're using cd to change into uh, USR subdirectory, right? So you can do that. And then we are now in USR. We can also use ls to list whatever's inside, which are the contents, which may include um, files or other subdirectories. So, sorry, what happened here? Let me do that again. List. Okay, yeah. So we used ls again to list. Sorry, we used ls again to list the contents inside the USR subdirectory. Right. So another command that you might pick up is clear. So clear is just used to clear your terminal, right? If you use clear, you clear everything. And then one of the most important things or commands in using Kali Linux is obviously getting into the root user account, because your root user account, like I said, it contains it has privileges of an administrator, right? So you can just say you can just type sudo -i, right? And then it's going to require you to enter the password of your current account. And then so now that we have some basic understanding on the directories and or rather the file system of Kali Linux, let's look at some basic terminal commands before we get any deeper. So before we learn anything, I think it's important that uh, you realize that you can always use the help command for any of these commands to see your options on them, right? For example, we have this command cat. So basically cat means it's short for concatenate, right? So what it's used for, it's used for reading, writing, and combining the contents of files, right? So with cat, let's say I don't know what to do with cat. I'm gonna type dash dash help, and then it's gonna give me some of the important information on how to use this thing, right? On how to use cat, right? So let's skip that and go to this command. Let me clear my terminal. We have this command touch, right? So basically what touch does, it creates an empty file, right? So let me create touch file.txt. It's important to specify the extension, right? The extension is this part .txt. Sometimes it can be .sh, .pdf. So you have to specify what type of file you are creating, right? So now we have touch, right? I can use cat to read this file, cat5.txt. Since I created an empty file, remember I said touch creates an empty file, doesn't have anything written on it. So now I've just used cat file to read the content in file.txt, right? So cat is used to read it in this case. So, but since this file is empty, it don't show anything. Let's use this other command, echo. So what does echo do? Echo puts content in a file. Right? Basically, I can write whatever I want into the file. So what can I write? Let me write down my name is Kisuki. And then you have to use this option. You have to use this inequality sign to specify into which file you are writing this. Right? So I'm writing this into file.txt. Second here. So I'm writing that I just wrote my name is Urahara Kiske into that file, right? So now let's use cat to see if I actually wrote into that file. Right? Cat. So I just used cat into I just used cat on file.txt, and as you can see here, I, we have contents written in that file. My name is Urahara Kiske. Just like that. So one other thing that you need to know is let's see which, or before I move on to our next command or our next method that you can use. Please take note that echo can also be used to write into a file that you have not touched. So you don't need to do this most of the times, right? You don't need to do this. It's important with other some other commands, but with echo you don't really need to have a file already existing. You can just use a new file. So for example, I have file1.txt. This file does not exist. I just made up this name. In fact, let me use made up. This is just, I'm just gonna say empty, right? Made up. So I'm just gonna write this and hold, yes, hold, just to distinguish the contents. So I just said echo and then wrote my whatever I wanna add into the file, and then I just created a file right here, a new file using this. Remember, this sign is very important. Don't forget to put in this file, right? So I just did that. So let me use cat on that file. In fact, let me just use cat on file txt first. Right? So these are the contents in file txt. Let me use cat on empty.txt. Right. So as you can see, this file we first use touch on it in order for us to have an existing file and then put contents in there using echo, and then here we just used echo and then made up a new name or new file, right? And then it still gives you the same results. So that's it with echo, or rather cat, for these commands: echo, cat, and touch. So that's the basics of it. And then another important thing that you need to know is that you can actually add commands into a file, right? In this case, so remember I said we have this ls, right? Basically lists the content in the directory. So for example, these are the contents in our root directory, right? In our home, in the home directory of root, right? So we can let me go back to that other account. So so this is how you go back. So if you want to exit the root account and go back to your regular user account, this is what you do. You say su, and then you write your username, su urahara, and then we are back. So basically it's gonna be in the root directory here, right? It's gonna be in the home directory for root. Remember I said this is home directory for root. So you can use cd to just change into the default uh, directory, which is this one. And then so I wanna put this command ls into what, into a file. So I'm gonna say ls and then use this greater than inequality, then do what, right? Ls underscore file dot txt. So what I just did here, I just I just put this I just put the ls command into ls file.txt, right? So instead of writing regular contents, just as I did here on MD and on file txt, I instead put a command, right? Here I put contents, here I put a command. So what this command is going to do, whenever I say I use cat to read this file, this is what's going to happen. This ls command is going to be executed. So as you can see, these are the contents, or rather the results that you would get if we were using ls. You understand? And then which other command can we do? Oh, before we learn any other commands, I can't think of any more important file commands here. You can oh yeah, the file, the type of file, right? So let's say I want to use I want to see what type of file ls. Oh, I just pressed enter. Sorry. I want to know what ls underscore file is. I want to know the type of file that ls underscore file is, right? Um, txt. So it's gonna tell me. So you have to put everything here, not just the name. You have to put the name and the extension, and then it's gonna tell you what type of file this is. Currently, it's not that important, but later you might have to use it. So just keep that in mind, right? And then one last thing is obviously we know how to create a file, how to add contents into a file, and how to read them, but then we don't know how to remove the file. So how can you remove a file? So ls dot, okay, let me remove file1.txt, right? So in order to remove a file, we have to use this rm file file1.txt, right? So as you can see, it's still here. I just used ls and we have file1.txt. So I'm going to use rm to remove that file, to basically delete it, right? So now it's deleted. Let me use ls again to check if it's still there. Right? So as you can see here, we don't have any uh, file1.txt. Right? And then I think, yeah, that's the basic commands that you need to know. Oh yeah, we have also this these are more of like methods, but they're also called commands, but there are maybe like methods instead of saying commands, like just for, for distinction, right? So we have this command, or rather method, sort. Basically this sorts your whatever you're listing, it sorts those things or contents in alphabetical order. And then we have this grep here. Grep requires you, what did I just do? A second, let me sort. Right. So sort sorts your contents in alphabetical order. Grep uh takes out the specific contents that have a certain keyword. For example, let's say I want to take only things that have the word Mayuri in them, right? The word Mayuri. So as you can see here, when I just used ls, it listed everything, every content under this directory. But now I used sort and grep for me to just select those that have the keyword Mayuri. So let's use ls with just sort instead of grep, right? Just to show you what this thing does, right? So instead of okay, so this is not much different. It was already just like that. But sort also, it does specify that you have to sort them. The contents will be sorted in alphabetical order in case that they are not, right? So at the moment they were already sorted in alphabetical order, so it's not much use. Let's skip that. And then one of my favorite things in in the Kali Linux terminal is this tmax. My hands are very stiff. So this command lets you basically take control of your terminal command. Let me show you how. You just press tmax, and then we are now in your tmax terminal. In your tmax terminal. I'm sorry to say it's tmax terminal. So basically, what do I mean when I say you're taking control? Let me show you something fun here. What I mean when I say this is taking control of your terminal is if you press control B, then you use the percentage sign. It's gonna split your window into two, like it's gonna split it vertically, right? And then if you press control B and then shift, and then you use the quotation mark, control B plus quotation mark. Let me write that down. Uh, control plus B plus this sign is gonna split tmax window vertically, right? Vertically, and then control plus B plus this double quotation mark is gonna split tmax window horizontally, right? Excuse my handwriting. And then, so this is what we just did here. We just split it using the percentage sign, control B plus percentage sign, split it there. So you just press control B and then shift, I think it's number 5 in order to select percentage sign. And then, so basically this is very useful when you are using when you're multitasking. For example, maybe I want to scan something here and then do something else here and then do something else there. So those are the most important things. We have other commands in tmax that are useful, but they're not very important. Like this command, control B plus C, right? Control B plus C. What control B plus C does, it creates a new window, basically. It creates you a new window, right? So uh yeah, so this is our new window that you've just created. As you can see, you don't really need it that much because you can just click on new terminal. You can just open a new terminal automatically without having to do this. So let's exit this and not confuse ourselves. Right? We go back to our split windows here. And then one thing that you have to note is that when you are in Tmax, it's hard to scroll as you would usually do. As you can see, I'm trying to scroll here, but it's giving me it's giving me the recent commands instead of scrolling. So what you need to do is to say control B plus the square bracket, right? It's gonna then be orange. When it's orange like this, you can scroll using your up and down arrows, right? And then when you're doing that, you cannot basically do any other things. As you can see here, I can't type into this orange window. It's giving me this space here, go to line, where it's basically gonna allow me to just type and then go to a certain line instead of typing inside the window. So in order for you to exit and be able to type in there, you have to just press exit and then you're back again, right? So that's how you control your window using, let me write that down again, right? Um, control plus B plus this plus up or down R. It's gonna give you what? Scroll. You can use that to scroll and then escape to exit scrolling. Right? Order to exit scrolling. And then let's say you are done with this window right here in the bottom corner and then you just want to remove it. So you can just type exit and then it's deleted. You're left with this now. Right? And now you're left with these two windows. Let me exit on that one, two, exit, and then you're left with this. Right? So if I type exit again, I'll exit the tmax command. Basically, I'll exit the tmax window and be back on my normal terminal window. So you would be able to use it there when you're working with both of those accounts, the root user and the normal one. So I think that's it, guys. See you in the next video.